Good evening, everyone. We're going to give people a few more minutes to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start around 6:05.
Morelli, did you have a question? You can unmute yourself, Morelli.
Can you hear me,
Yeah.
John?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. Just want to do a mic check. Thank you.
Okay. Mohel, is there a question?
I actually had to speak about this, so that's why
Okay.
it was mentioned.
Okay. Okay. When we get to that portion, I'll start calling you guys. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining this virtual community meeting for a second community meeting with a joint EIR scoping meeting. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping. So you will all be placed on mute until we open up the meeting for public comment. So first we'll go through some introductions, some presentations, and then that's when we'll open it up for you all to have the opportunity to make comments and ask questions. If you're joining us by phone and you would wish to speak, you would press *9 on your phone once we open it up for public comment. If you are joining us through an electronic device, you can use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your screen. A copy of the agenda has been posted via the link provided in the hearing notice and has been posted on the planning webpage. Copies of the plan set have also been posted online on the project's webpage. Just wanted to remind everyone that this is a community meeting. This is not a public hearing. There will be no decision made tonight. The hearing for this project would occur at a later date, and it would occur at Planning Commission for a recommendation and City Council at a later date for the decision-making body. If you all could please have a chance to turn to page 5 of the agenda, there is a code of conduct. The code of conduct will be enforced. And then finally, we please ask you to be patient with us. This is a pretty large community meeting, and we know that there are a lot of attendees that would like to speak. So please be patient with us, and we'll try to make sure you all have a chance to speak. And so we'll go ahead and get started with introductions. So on planning's side, we have John Tu, supervising planner. We have Tim Rude, division planning manager. We have Tai Chao Lee, she is the environmental supervising planner. From Public Works, we have a couple of people joining us tonight. We have Alex and Michelle, as well as Christy from our Public Works transportation team. We have Councilmember Arenas joining us tonight, and we also have some District 8 staff. So we have Victoria Lamb, Nancy, and Patrick. On the applicants team, we have Jennifer Johnson, Andrew Mann. We also have Johnny, Susie, Todd, and Antonio, who are also here for questions if needed. So we'll go ahead and give Councilmember Arenas a chance to speak.
Thank you, Michelle. And good evening, everyone. I'm Sylvia Arenas. If we haven't met yet, I hope we can make our acquaintance soon enough in person as soon as we all get vaccinated and back into the swing of things. But for now, this will have to do this Zoom online interaction that we've kind of gotten used to in this last year. So Michelle covered it absolutely well. And so tonight's meeting really is on this topic that we all know is we're all very much interested and invested in, and that's the Temple project on Norwood and Ruby. And so I'm just going to go back a little bit in terms of what we've done so far. Last February, I released a letter in response to the neighbors' concerns regarding this project. And back then, I knew that there were some issues because I heard your concerns. And if you have read my letter, you will know that I have stated all your concerns because I'm in line with what our community wants for our neighborhood. And so I stated that I could not support the project as it was then proposed. And really after a lot of months of extensive community engagement and intense negotiations between my office and the applicant has resubmitted their revised proposal, which is what we will hear about tonight, and which you'll also get a chance to provide your feedback on tonight. So tonight is the second official community meeting hosted by the city's planning department, which means all of your comments will be entered into the public record. And so I highly encourage you to voice your thoughts tonight, although you don't need me to encourage you to do that because I know that you're the best advocate for your neighborhood. Because after tonight's meeting, the planning department is going to consider all of your comments and all of this feedback as they dig in deeper into reviewing the applicant's resubmittal documents. And so the work that's going to happen next, and that has happened already, is in part because of the great work that, of course, John Tu and Michelle, that you've all led, and thank you, Tim. And I know there's some folks here from Public Works, Alex, Michelle, and Christy, and thank you for all the work that makes this processing seamless for our community. I also just want to thank you, our neighbors, for your continued collaboration and time and your commitment to ensuring that this project is really for the benefit and the good of our community. And just lastly, I want to thank my team, which I am absolutely deeply grateful for, and I love them so very much. My Chief of Staff, Patrick McGarity, my Deputy Chief of Staff, Nancy Lay, and our star of our team, Vicki Lamb. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done. I know that you take a lot of time interacting with our community and has brought us all into this phase. So without much more, I'm going to hand this over to the planning department so that they can answer some of the questions that you all have regarding the next steps. And I know Michelle quickly covered some of those next steps. So thank you all.
Council member. So we'll go ahead and continue with planning's presentation. So we'll have a couple presentations this evening. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so some project history. So as many of you are familiar with the project, there was a preliminary review request that was submitted on September 27th of 2018. After the preliminary review request, the applicant submitted a conditional use permit in January of 2020. After the conditional use permit, the applicant submitted a development variance application, and this was for the steeples that were exceeding the 35 feet in height. That is the height limit for the R15 zoning district. And after the development variance was submitted and they received initial comments, the applicant chose to submit a rezoning application. This rezoning is from the R15 zoning district to the PQP zoning district. And with that proposed rezoning, the project was converted from a conditional use permit to a special use permit. Both plan sets for the conditional use permit and the special use permit have been posted on the project's website, so they are available to view there. The first community meeting was held last year in August of 2020. The resubmittal of the special use permit was submitted earlier this year on March 20th of 2020. And so the rezoning to public quasi-public, what does this mean? We've received a lot of questions about this, and the PQP zoning district and the project would still need to conform with the general plan land use designation of residential neighborhood. So this means that it will still need to conform with the residential neighborhood requirements of private community gathering facilities compatible with the surrounding residential neighborhood are supported under that land use designation. So the reason with the public quasi-public being the more conforming zoning district for this project is that public quasi-public zoning district is intended for assembly uses or other uses similar to this project. The R15 zoning district is intended for single family residences and was not what the sorry the zoning district and development standards specifically apply to single family residences. And so since the project now includes the rezoning, the project would be heard concurrently at the highest level hearing. So this means that although a special use permit typically goes to a director's hearing level, since there is a rezoning on file and the rezoning is a conventional rezoning, it would need to go to Planning Commission for a recommendation, and then ultimately City Council will be the decision-making body. So the special use permit and the rezoning will both be going to both of these hearings at the same time. And so I included a couple sections of the zoning code where you can see where a special use permit can be found for assembly uses in the public quasi-public zoning district. You can also view other uses that may be permitted, conditionally permitted in the public quasi-public zoning district. And so the project will still be reviewed for conformance with a general plan, zoning ordinance, commercial design guidelines, CEQA, the Evergreen East Hills Development Policy Area. The conversion from the conditional use permit to the special use permit does not change our review. Really, the only thing that is changing with the file conversion is the hearing body. And as I mentioned, it will be going to the highest level hearing, which is the rezoning. And so some next steps. So the project is still under review. The applicant will still be providing a resubmittal to address outstanding comments from the city. Before the project is scheduled for a hearing, the project review will need to be complete, as well as the environmental review, which Ty will speak on a little bit more on those next steps. So after the review is complete, the project will then be scheduled for the hearing, and the Planning Commission hearing would occur first, and then afterwards would be the City Council hearing. And finally, I would like to remind you all that this is not your last opportunity to provide comments. Please feel free to email me your comments. They will be included as part of the public record. They will be included as correspondence that is provided to the planning commissioners and city council once the project is ready for hearing. There will also be a public circulation period for comments on the environmental portion. And Ty can speak a little bit more on that now.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking some of your time to join us here tonight. My name is Tai Chow Lee. I go by Tai for short. I am the environmental project manager for this project. I will be walking you through the portion that's called the environmental scoping of this community meeting, since it's a joint scoping meeting / community meeting. So I'll walk you through what that really is, the type of document being prepared to study the environmental impact of this project on the environment, and the different ways that the community can still be involved during this whole process. So the purpose of the environmental scoping section of this meeting is to really, again, explain what is the environmental process, what is environmental review as part of all these projects. Get your comments and feedback on the document and the scope of work that we will be using to analyze environmental impact, and provide you additional information on how, again, to stay involved and continue to be involved throughout this whole process. So taking a step back really quickly, everyone is asking, again, what's environmental review? We threw out some words here and there, and I'm gonna try my best to not be so jargony. So within the city of San Jose, or sorry, not even San Jose, within the state of California, there's a law called the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA for short. You'll hear that being thrown around a lot. And that requires local agency to analyze and identify environmental impact associated with any proposed project, and to propose mitigation measure and apply mitigation measure to reduce those impacts to the best of their ability. To align with the CEQA requirement, the project can look at all these resource sections, from air quality, aesthetic, to hazard, transportation, utilities, and noise. And they go through an exercise that can be done formally through a process called the initial study. However, if a project thinks that it have some impact that may, what we call in the legal term is significant unavoidable, then it must complete what we call an environmental impact report, an EIR. And as part of the environmental impact report, the EIR process, there is a scoping meeting component to it. So many of you have attended the previous community meeting earlier last year for this item, and have seen a CEQA letter to tell the applicant to prepare an initial study. Since that community meeting, we don't have any technical reports, we don't have the initial study for the project, but the project has rescoped to wanting to do an EIR at this point. Now, everyone's probably pausing and saying, oh, if they elected to do the EIR, does that mean there's significant unavoidable impacts? Answer is no, not really. Because at this time, we don't have the technical reports yet, we don't know the analysis yet, but pursuant to the CEQA guidelines, a project can elect a higher level of review based on community input, based on what they think might be comments coming in later or legal protection. Because at the end of the day, the CEQA document is a disclosure document, but also a legal document for the city and the project. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the EIR will study a broad range of resource areas that I mentioned earlier. And again, some of the areas of concern that I've seen via email and close coordination with Michelle, as she's been on this project a lot longer than I have. We will be analyzing things like noise, transportation, biological impact, hazards, air quality. We will be looking at impacts for both construction and operation of the project. And based on those potential effects, there will be mitigation measures that are disclosed in that document and telling you really what the applicant have to do at what stage, at the grading permit stage, at the demolition stage, etc. And the one part for an EIR that initial study or another project, another document doesn't have is what we call the alternatives. So when we do these reports, we say, okay, you might have impact on this area. You might have significant unavoidable impact to these resource areas. Therefore, you have to find an alternative that will reduce that. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're trying to tell the decision makers and tell the public, here are the environmental impacts that the project could or could not have. And here are the mitigation measures, and here are the alternatives that could reduce those impacts or not reduce those impacts, but still meet the objective of the project. And we identify what is an environmentally superior project or alternative, if any. At its core, the EIR, again, is to comply with the CEQA law and to provide you all and the council members and whoever the decision makers are, that transparency, that staff has done their work based on the industry standard of all these resource area, and here are the effects. Next slide, please. I apologize that you hear the ice cream man noise. It's his time to make his round around my neighborhood. For those of you who are joining us on the web or on your phone, you will be able to see the slide, which show a flow chart of what the EIR steps are. For those of you, I do see a couple of people who are calling in from their phone, so you will not be able to see the slide, but I'm going to walk through it to make sure that you can visualize what the steps are. So the first step is called the notice of preparation. This is to start the EIR process. The notice of preparation, or NOP for short, is pretty much the EIR scope. This is the city going out to the public community and say, here's what we're going to analyze in the EIR. Do you have any comments, right? And it tells you, like, here's all these resource areas. Like for air quality, we're going to have a technical report to analyze air quality. And what we're looking for in the community are more comments and more I guess concern is, hey, if you're looking at air quality, are you going to analyze the noise of those construction equipment next to my house because I'm really close by? Those are things that are being considered as part of the analysis, but it's always good to really get your feedback to make sure that we're not missing anything. Let's see what else here. So the NOP generally is circulated for 30 days. It got posted on the website on the 24th of May and will be going all the way to June 23rd. During this meeting is where we will be collecting comments and notes for verbally, but we also encourage you all to provide us with written comments of your concerns on the environmental impacts or on the NOP or anything during this process, really, because one, we can collect that and have it as part of the record. And sometimes if you're calling me and I'm taking down notes, there might be a missing piece, but if you have it in writing, I can always refer back to be like, okay, this is what they said this day, this is what their concerns are. Did we capture it in our environmental analysis? The other thing I want to mention here is, while we do encourage written comments, please note that all your comments sent to the city whether it's on the EIR, on the project itself, or part of the public record. We will redact sensitive information such as cell phones or addresses and stuff like that, but just note that once you send in the comment, it is part of public record. So another thing I want to point out is as you're reading this NOP, the scope of work for the EIR, you might be wondering, what standards are they using to do these analysis? You say you're analyzing noise, but to what? Are you actually going to every single house and measuring what is currently there versus what's going to be there? There is an industry standards of how we apply these, what we call threshold and to the analysis, which means that, and it comes from a variety of state, local laws. For example, air quality, we look to the Bay Area Management District Bay Area Air Quality Management District to, we go by their standards of what is considered significant under their threshold, what is the cancer rate of being significant. So I just want to really throw that out there and be completely transparent with you all in the very forefront of this is that while you're reading these documents later on during the 45 days public review, you will see terminology such as significant unavoidable, less than significant with mitigation measures. We still encourage you to send us comment and say, hey, I don't agree with this analysis. It doesn't seem right. Why is this significant? Or why is this less than significant if it's right next door, right? There is a methodology that we apply to these analyses. And we understand that sometimes it's just the modeling and the science of it doesn't seem as logical, but we're here to help you walk through that process. So that's all first step, but I'll be quicker in the next steps. Step number 2 is actually happening right now. The EIR is being prepared and the technical report is being prepared. It's happening at the same time as number 1. And to note that your comments will also assist in modification of that as it's being done, the technical reports. Step number 3 is the draft EIR being ready for public comments along with all the technical reports. This usually gets posted online for 45 days. Again, my contact information is going to be at the end of this slideshow and then also reiterated again. You're welcome to email me and let me know that, hey, I want to be on that email list to be sure that I get it on the very first day it comes out. If you have been in contact with Michelle, you can contact her and she'll also pass my information along. So step number 4 is that after we circulate this document for 45 days, we receive everyone's comments about the analysis itself, then we prepare what we call a first amendment. And a first amendment includes responses to all your comments, any text changes to the EIR that might result from the comments, and additional analysis that might result from the comments itself. Step number 5 is we publish that final EIR with the first amendment. And then step 6 and 7 is going to the right hearing body for this project. As Michelle mentioned, it's going to most likely go to Planning Commission for a recommendation and then to the council for a decision. And next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so again, to let everybody know, my name is Tai-Chao Lee. Here's my email address and my phone number for those on the phone and can't see the screen is 408-535-5658. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have more questions and you just want to go through more about this process. I'm happy to set up a meeting and we can definitely walk through this some more. And with that, I'll be here to answer any questions on this process and I'll kick it back to Michelle.
Thank you, Ty. So next we'll move on to the applicant's presentation. So Andrew Mann and Jennifer Johnson will be presenting on this part. Andrew and Jennifer, you've both been unmuted, so please let me know when you'd like me to change slides.
Great, thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you, everybody, and Councilmember Arenas and all the staff. In particular, we'd like to thank and acknowledge the council member for stepping up to help the AAPI community of San Jose. She has used her platform to promote access to services, food security, housing rights, and she has stood up in the strongest possible way against AAPI hate crimes. So thank you. We're very pleased to be with you this evening, and we appreciate the opportunity to share an overview of the temple design updates as well as our operations. We have had many conversations over the years with many of you in this meeting, and some of you were probably meeting for the first time. This temple community and the design team have appreciated and listened closely to your input and the ideas that you have shared with us. And as we strive to incorporate our neighbors' feedback, we're also working to meet the needs of the temple community. This is a place for worship, spirituality, education, governance, and peace. We believe that we have successfully balanced those needs with the communities, and we're proud to share this update with you. I think we can move to the next slide, Michelle, please. As our most important design update is that we have eliminated the underground parking. We thought it would have been a great idea to hide cars out of sight, but we heard you all loud and clear. And so now we have a parking lot on the surface tucked into the northeast corner of the property. We have also reduced the number and size of our buildings by making spaces like the community hall and the monks' residences smaller, and by combining multiple uses into single spaces. The total project is now 72% smaller, and the at-grade footprint, the on-the-surface buildings, is 24% smaller. We understand and appreciate that our neighbors are concerned about construction impacts. And so we are committing to meet all the city requirements, of course, and taking on additional voluntary measures, things like limiting deliveries to construction hours and appointing a construction coordinator in our construction plan. We also believe it's important to help you understand how the temple operates and to be very clear that we are limiting the total number of visitors at any time to 300. On a daily basis, a small number of temple members will visit the temple to meditate and bring food to the monks. On a weekly basis, much like a church, there are religious services that are attended by less than the full membership, probably a familiar phenomenon in many houses of worship. And then on an annual basis, there are religious holidays which often do draw nearly the full membership of the temple. Again, the maximum number of visitors at any time will be 300. And as you heard from Ty, we are undertaking a full environmental impact review, or EIR, and that's part of our purpose tonight. And while it takes more time and resources to do this full EIR, we are committed to the fullest possible assessment of impacts like traffic and noise. We can move to the next slide, please. This overview of the site is meant to show you the functional aspects of the temple. Worship is in the temple itself, fellowship in the community hall, peacefulness in the gardens, spiritual guidance that comes from having the monks there who live on site, and also governance and learning in the office space and the classroom/library. Next page, please. In this site plan, which is an eye test, I realize, we want to point out a few things. The temple is right-sized for 300 worshipers seated on the floor rather than pews. So this is a difference between church and the temple. The community hall has been reduced in size 22%. The setbacks are shown here. They're 25 feet from the neighbors to the north and to the east. So along Pin Oak and along Sweetleaf, 25 feet. There are setbacks of 20 feet to the right of way on both Ruby and Norwood, and 10 feet around our interior neighbor. There's also a sound wall along the north and east edges of the property. And we've made some landscaping updates, in particular to the corner that you can see in the next image. We can turn the page. This is a bird's eye view of the site from the southwest corner. Just kind of give you a sense of the importance of landscaping and gardens and how we envision the temple beautifying the neighborhood. And then the last page, these two renderings show the perspective of the buildings from two different angles. The top one is looking north from Norwood Avenue. So you see the slope of Norwood and you see the temple and the entrance there. And the second one on the bottom shows the temple site looking east from Ruby Avenue. And so those are our updates. I know we had 5 minutes. I hope it kept close to that. And again, just thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and share this with you all.
Thank you, Jennifer. So now we'll go ahead and move on to public comment. So we received a presentation from 4 members that will be using their time to speak during this presentation. So we have Murali, who you will be allowing you to speak in a minute to do your presentation. We'll go ahead and get started as soon as you are ready.
So I will be the one moderating the speakers today. Morelli, you had your hand raised and then it went down. Can you raise your hand again, Morelli? All right, go ahead, Morelli.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Excellent, thank you. My name is Morley Pavisetti. I'm a resident of Evergreen. So thank you for the city planning team, Council Member Arenas, for giving us the opportunity to reiterate our concerns on this temple project. Next slide, please. Core quickly, we are representative of the Evergreen, diverse community in Evergreen. So pretty much we have people from different religions, different race, age groups living in harmony. So we are a representative of the group. We came together to collect research and disseminate information about the project. On this project now, at least we want to acknowledge the Temple Foundation dropping the underground parking lot after listening to about 80 to 100 residents who spoke during the previous committee call. Having said that, we have engaged about 400 neighbors over the last 2 weeks, and overwhelmingly, over 99% of them do not support the revised plans. Okay, we had expressed these concerns last time as well, but let me recap, right? One is still the project is too large, right? And totally incompatible with the neighborhood. I'll provide more details. Neighbors do not support the rezoning to public, quasi-public zoning. The many aspects of the project are out of character for a residential neighborhood. We are requesting the project to remain compatible to the residential neighborhood. Finally, parking is completely inadequate. We'll talk more details. Next slide, please. This is just general plan language, right? All infill projects should and must be compatible with the neighborhood and match the character of the neighborhood. And it should not have adverse impacts on the neighborhood, right? To contextualize this, our feedback, this particular site, right? It's right in between a well-established R15 neighborhood, right? And where we have single family homes, 1 and 2 storied, maximum of 35 feet, right? Sitting in quarter-acre lot, give or take, right? The proposed temple has homes on 2 sides, right? Single family homes on 2 sides and a narrowed avenue. And then we have a single lane Ruby Avenue. Both these streets are single lanes, right? And the project completely surrounds Mr. and Mrs. Strand's house on 3 sides, right? There's just about 10 feet setback from Strand family home, right? And it is also at a busy intersection, right, where accidents occur regularly. And also there's no kind of public transport. There are 5 schools in a 1-mile radius, and you'll see people from all kinds, right? Elderly people walking, runners, young kids, bicyclists going to the intersection every hour. Next slide, please. there's just again 2040 general plan 2040 language, and also most importantly, the data point is there was a previously before the Temple Foundation acquired the parcel, there were 6 family homes that were approved, and the applicant had requested city to rezone it to a higher density parcel of R18. Planners rejected their application with the justification that they wanted to keep the parcel as R15 because it is an infill project, right? Now, question is, why is the city entertaining a more intense PQP rezoning when a less intense residential zoning was denied previously? Okay, I'll move on. Next slide, please. Okay, now we'll go into some of the aspects of the plan which are completely incompatible with the neighborhood. One is structures are really tall. I mean, hovering over the other single and 2-story houses. And as you can see on the right, this is the exact, I mean, these are screenshots from the application. As you can see, each of the spaces, whether it is the community hall or the temple, individually they can hold 20 to 30 times the capacity of a 6 houses in that parcel, right? So now, as you see here, you see 700 capacity for the community hall, 700 capacity for the temple, and of course, there's quite a bit of space for in the courtyards, right? Lastly, having such kind of capacity could use to intense use, and which will lead to, even with a project of this size, there'll be noise impacts, safety impacts on the neighbors and other people who are adjacent to it, as well as people who would use the streets right next to it. Next slide, please. So here, as you can see in the plan, there's just one single narrow driveway, right next to the adjacent parking spots. And so this plan is, as you can clearly see, or if you have seen the plans, you can see it's a recipe for accidents and for cars to stack through the Ruby Avenue and the intersection, which already is busy and accident prone. And for a capacity of, as per their plan, for that kind of capacity, having just 56 parking spots, right, and 15 double parking spots is grossly inadequate, and the calculations are incorrect. And of course, the off-site parking half a mile away is definitely not starter. It's a non-starter, right? I mean, we have seen other temples and religious places wherever they have this alternate off-site parking, never works, right? Next slide, please. This is again screenshots from their plan, right? Wherein you can see other projects which are referenced, like the Grace Church and the Methodist Church. You can see how they've utilized the space and how much of open space is available around the property for parking and other purposes. And you can see how intense this project is. Next slide, please. Okay. Here, I mean, like, the reason why we put together this slide is, yes, we have verbally communicated, but we want to give them a shot is this, right? So if the applicant really believes that this is the minimum size of the buildings are required, then let's follow a success story, right? Gurudwara, they chose 2 other spots before this, but finally now they are in a 44-acre plot and like completely tucked away and not impacting any neighbors, right? So for your temple as well, we request that within 2 miles radius from your current parcel, there are plots which are 10+ acres at a fraction of the cost of what you have paid for this parcel. So right now, it would be a very easy decision for the foundation to relocate and future-proof the growth, right? Whether it's membership, parking, and completely eliminate the impact to neighbors. So we humbly request the city planning team, our council member Sylvia Arenas, to guide the temple foundation to make the right decision. And if this is a form factor they want, we definitely feel the neighbors feel that this is not the right location for this project. Thank you very much.
So real quick, I just wanted to clarify, Morelli did contact planning in advance and had 3 other speakers that were yielding their time. So each speaker that is going to come and provide comments are going to be provided about 2 minutes to speak. But I just wanted to acknowledge that they did coordinate in advance and they had 3 other speakers yield their time, so Morelli can provide that presentation. All right, I'm going to call John Goldstein. You can please unmute yourself.
Okay, here I am. I'm John Goldstein. I'm pastor of Grace Church on Avon Road in Kettman. I'm not necessarily opposed to the presence of the temple here, but I just want to speak from my own personal experience. I believe our lot size is about the same. We're around 2+ acres of land, and I just know that when you come into a property, I inherited this property, of course. I wasn't there when it was opened back in the 1980s, I believe. But if I had it over and I was the first one to have a site, I would try to get the biggest piece of land I possibly could. Because when you start out with a ministry of any sort, you might think you have a certain number of people, but there's always this desire to grow, and you do need to grow because the community does grow. And so it just seems to me that if I had my druthers, I would have bought more land than the 2 acres that we have to do ministry. Because when you talk about the square footage that they're mentioning here, like an annual events, limiting it to 300 people. I know as a pastor, I just find it very hard to say you can limit it. I mean, that's a great desire to limit the impact on the neighborhood, but it's very hard to say no to people who really want to come to your temple to participate in your events. So I guess my thinking here is for those who who really want to have this temple, and I desire, of course, that they do have a temple and a place to worship, which is really a wonderful idea and quite flattering to Evergreen, but also to think about how they're going to deal with the issue of growth, because you can very quickly find yourself kind of locked in to a space that's just not big enough for what you want to do. And that's especially true in any kind of a group meeting. If you're talking about having meals, and I believe that meals are very important to this community, but having groups together for meals, you do need lots of space. And then you also obviously have the complication, you need more parking space or more ways to get the people in. So I guess that's really my comment. I wish them well in their desire for worshiping, a place for their worship. But I would like them to really think hard about this. And I'll be glad to be available to them, of course, to talk about from my experience on what one might need and what one might think about having a property, a space that would allow for possible growth and development of their ministry as they see it in their temple. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have Neighbor, whose name goes by Neighbor on Zoom. Please unmute yourself.
Was that me?
Oh
yeah.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Yes, I agree with the speaker that was just talking right now. Not the Baptist, but the Indian guy. I forgot his name.
Morelli?
Yeah, Morelli. I agree with him all the way. I live up here, and that would just impact the whole neighborhood and the environment. The EIR that you guys were speaking of. If you guys don't even have that study yet, and you're creating this study and you want to use the community to do the homework, is that basically what I was hearing? So you want us to give you the information?
So I'll clarify, usually I don't want to interrupt speakers, but they're asking for you guys to what you guys want to include as part of the analysis, not to do the homework.
Well, kind of sounds like the same thing, but there is lots of places around here that are bigger. Like even the golf course, they can't even take a chunk of that. That's a pretty big area. I had a lot more to say, but the gentleman spoke most of how I felt. So I just want to end it there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Priscilla Kim Ong, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Priscilla Kim Ong. I'm a student at the University of San Francisco, and I'm a member of the Khmer Kampuchea Krom Temple. I support the plan to create a beautiful and peaceful sanctuary for my family and the neighborhood. Over the past few months, we have been devastated by the recent uptick in hate crimes against the Asian American community. This anti-Asian racism is a result of ignorance. However, ignorance hurts our community in less violent and less explicit ways as well. Many people have pushed back against the creation of our new temple without understanding who we are. I've heard opposition from the neighborhood regarding the fear of noisy Lunar New Year celebrations with the use of firecrackers if our temple is built here. And we have told them more than once, our temple does not celebrate Lunar New Year. Lunar New Year is celebrated by Vietnamese, Chinese, and many other cultures, and the firecrackers are their own cultural tradition. However, our temple is a community of Khmer Krom. Most of you still don't even know what Khmer Krom is. I wonder, have any of you asked Ms. Lena Lam or anyone from our community what Khmer Krom means or why our temple is called Khmer Kampuchea Krom Temple? Our Khmer Krom are the indigenous peoples of the Mekong Delta region, known as Kampuchea Krom in our Khmer language, which was historically Cambodian territory but was colonized by Vietnam. So we are not Vietnamese, we are not just Cambodian. We have our own Khmer Krom culture and identity, which involves our New Year and our own New Year and traditions. So for people to continue to assume that we are Vietnamese and that we celebrate Lunar New Year and to use that as a reason to keep us from building our place of worship after we have explained who we are is ignorant and harmful to our community. San Jose prides itself on diversity, inclusivity, and community. So I hope that our community can be welcomed and embraced so that we can move forward with this temple. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet Holt, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. I wasn't ready. That was quick. All right, you guys are looking mighty fine tonight. Thank you so much for the meeting. I'm Janet Holt, one of the core members, and I'd like to say that the proposed project is in an established, diverse residential neighborhood. While we welcome change, this project would disrupt the balance, character, density, and impact of the entire neighborhood. Some neighbors have been exposed to or will be exposed to major burdens. Why so big and why when there are alternatives? I've talked with many neighbors, many who, we're not racist. I'll just say that right here, and that there's no room for that in this conversation. So a couple of the neighbors have talked about moving because they don't want to have to deal with the impacts of the large buildings. And that was heartbreaking for me to hear. Once built, plans, no matter how well intentioned, don't show a realistic way to enforce parking, noise, and crowd behavior. They pared down their on-site parking by providing a plan to double park some cars, valet, shuttle, et cetera, et cetera. It's naive for people to think that folks will adhere to alternate parking plans when it's free parking on streets. Folks will park all over the neighborhoods. The buildings are too big and designed to hold too many people. It's disrespectful to think that neighbors don't know this. Past plans say their intended capacity was 500 people and 300. The numbers are fuzzy. I would like to thank D8 council member and staff for hearing neighbors and assisting to eliminate the prior underground garage, but we still need your help planning. The congregation will grow. Considering the building sizes, comment how both temple and assembly buildings will likely be occupied simultaneously to determine realistic capacity and impact. Comment to why reduced parking plan is not based on both temple and assembly spaces. Current calculations are based upon temple only and discount 1,000 square foot. Please provide all required reports a month in advance of next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Holy Lamb, please unmute yourself. Holly, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Holly Lamb. I have recently graduated from Yerba Buena High School, and I'm a member of the Khmer Kampuchea Krom Temple, and I support the investment in our cultural future. Buddha instructs us, quote, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment," end quote. The Khmer Krom people live every day in the present as the past is painful given the persecution we have endured. However, today I come to you saying that I sincerely hope that this moment is one where you will help us realize our dreams for the future as we aspire to have a place to worship the way we choose. Throughout this process, we have spent every day thinking about the present moment and how we can work collaboratively with our neighbors. We hope that our new neighbors see how this temple will allow us to move forward toward the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Lamb, you're unmuted.
Good evening. My name is Adrian Makara Lamb. I'm a member of the Khmer Kampuchea Krom Temple, and I support the project. Thank you for the open spirit of collaboration with which you have welcomed our input. For the past year, I've looked forward to the project being approved so I can bring my family to a safe and beautiful place to worship. This temple will also give me and future generations an opportunity to learn about our rich culture, our traditions, and Buddha's teaching. Our community really needs a temple like this, and I hope the project can be underway soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Silvani Thatch, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Silvani Taik. I am a student at the University of San Francisco. I was born and raised in San Jose, and I am a member of the Khmer Kampuchea Krom Temple. I think everyone in this community is well aware that we need to address the hate and exclusion that is prevalent in many areas of our society. The Khmer Krom community knows this antagonism all well, sadly. We come from a war-ravaged country, and one of the reasons our families settled here in San Jose 40 years ago was because of the sense of safety we felt, given our roots as a refugee group searching for protection. Now, we seek to be welcomed in the same manner by the community of San Jose with our new temple in Evergreen. Because we don't have a place to worship that we can call our own, we are asking you to help us achieve that goal. With a lifestyle built on peace and harmony, we look forward to bringing that to your neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Chatri Thatch, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Chantria Taik. I've grown up in San Jose, and as a member of the Khmer Kampuchea Krom Temple, I would like to share my support for the project and speak on behalf of the ideal of religious freedom that we all hold dear, and as one of the values that sets our country apart. We have always felt welcome in the diverse area of San Jose and only wish to have a safe place where we could practice our religion, one of peace and hope. We hope that the neighborhood will see within itself the importance of practicing this freedom in deed, as well as in word, through accepting this temple as a member of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophie Lamb, please unmute yourself.
So my name is Sophie Lamb, and I'm currently a student at SF State, but I've grew up in San Jose all my life. And as a member of the Khmer Krom community, I definitely worry that we are slowly losing our roots without a central place to gather. By building this temple, it will not only allow us to practice our religion safely, but it will also preserve our culture. We see this as a community that embraces diversity, and we hope to be able to share our traditions and culture with everyone who is interested. So I fully support the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Vibol, please, Thatch, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Vibol Taik, and I am a student at UC Berkeley. I grew up in San Jose and am a member of the Khmer Kampuchea Krom Temple. I appreciate the time and attention that my fellow neighbors have given to this proposal, because it is in all our best interests to maintain the community feeling of the place that we call home. The Khmer Krom community has listened and taken concrete actions to change the design based on the neighbors' input. When the neighbors demanded that the parking garage be removed, it was removed. At the last community meeting, many neighbors specifically said that if the parking garage was taken out, they would support our temple, but now they are back again to oppose it. When they asked for the overall size to be downsized, we also did that. It is significantly smaller in square footage than the 6 single-family homes that were approved for this site. I hope the community can see these efforts and work in good faith for a special temple that we can all be proud of. Let's allow them to move forward with their project and vow to embrace the exciting diversity it will bring to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Shakir Kresnan, please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
My name is Shekhar Krishnan, and I've been living in this neighborhood for the last 21 years. And while I do see the changes, the removal of the underground garage as requested, I agree with Mr. Murli Padiseki and his analysis that the structure and the design is still incompatible with the neighborhood, and it is very, very large. The impact on the surrounding houses will be tremendous. And I also request when you do the environmental impact report that it be done at a time when the schools are in session, because if it's done during the summer months or during any time in the holidays, you are not going to get a true picture of what this neighborhood is really like in terms of traffic and the movement of people, the foot traffic. And so that is a very important thing to keep in mind. Lastly, I want to address the issue of exclusion that's being brought up by the past few speakers. If you live in this neighborhood, you would notice that a vast number of homeowners are first-generation Americans like myself who immigrated from other countries. We have a very diverse community that lives together in harmony and have no wish to exclude or discriminate against anyone. The opposition is to the size of the project and the impact that it would have in the neighborhood, not to the community itself, not denying them a place of worship or community or gathering. And I want people to understand that there are multiple faiths, multiple churches, mosques, gurdwaras that are practicing the religion in this area. And they have all chosen suitable parcels of land for their building the places of worship. And that's exactly what we are requesting this temple committee to also do. Thank you.
Thank you. Shahir Barnes, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I live in Evergreen and I am not a member of the temple, and I am in full favor of building this temple exactly as it has been proposed. I live really close and nobody came and talked to me about it, and I really don't feel the same way that some of my neighbors do. I feel that Evergreen is acting in covertly racist and elitist ways. Covert racism is defined as acts or barriers to restrict and deny racial minorities access to societal privileges and benefits. A key feature of covert racism is that it's disguised as something else. It may be happening unintentionally because of implicit bias, but it is happening. It is all over the flyers that were handed out last weekend at the cross section by the EV Ruby Temple Core Neighbors group. Something taken from the flyer: the building is out of character. What does that mean exactly? Is it not reflecting dominant culture enough? Is it not upper middle class enough? Is it too Asian? What does it mean to be out of character? It's a Buddhist temple and it should be allowed to have a design that reflects the culture of its members. Something else from the flyer: preserve our quality of life. Who is represented in our, and why do you feel your way of life is most important? Your group is using your power to put up every barrier you can to ensure this ethnic minority group cannot move forward to build a place of worship that suits their needs. We are not members of this particular religious ethnic community, so we have no right to tell people what they need to do or what they need or do not need. Telling them they do not need a large structure because you don't want it is not right. You don't know the needs of these folks. Blocking this group from moving forward is not about parking. You all complained at the last meeting about the underground parking structure that would have mitigated the parking concern. I get that people love their views of the hills and not having backyard neighbors, but your need for views of the hills does not trump folks' right to a place of worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy Tran, please unmute yourself. Or Kirsten Tran.
Oh, hello. Jamripsua, good evening. My name is Kirsten Tran, and I recently graduated from Silver Creek High School. There, I was president of my school's Key Club, where the students I led reached out or soon to Councilwoman Sylvia to volunteer for the Viva Park event for next week. As a member of the Kamai Kompachit Krom Temple, my family and I support this project, and we thank you, Councilwoman Sylvia, for hearing us out. As a longtime local, I've been surprised at the confusion and dissent the proposed temple has caused. I believe that members have been very open to talking through the issues raised by the local community and making changes that they show they've been listening and have every intention of being good neighbors. I treasure the diversity of the neighborhood and the inclusion that I've always have seen as a part of our way of life. For that reason, I believe the temple would be a wonderful addition to our neighborhood, as well as a way we can show our support for a group who has been victimized over the past years. Thank you.
Thank you. Norwood Traffic, please unmute yourself. I have a Zoom name that goes by Norwood Traffic. Please unmute yourself. I have somebody who's signed in as Norwood Traffic. Please unmute yourself. All right, I will come back to you. Can I have Vin N? Please unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Vin. I am not part of the community, but I live in this neighborhood. I have a 12-year-old son. So I like to express my support for this community in the spirit of openness and welcoming diversity. I do thank the opposing group for spreading the flyers in the past week. And I do agree with Shara Barnes in the previous speaker, who said that on the flyer, they did say that this building would be out of character. That is a problematic statement in that flyer. It has some hidden notes in there but that I'm not going into. I just want to express my support in the spirit of openness, especially that this project proposed to have an open peace garden that will add character to our community, right? And the diversity that we claim we want in our community. I have a 12-year-old who looks around in the neighborhood and only see churches and other community centers that are not relatable to him and his background and his practice of peace and meditation. I believe that this project, if done properly with the scrutiny of the city team, like we are doing right now, would add character to our building, our community rather. So, and I also heard that the previous pastor of a church expressing concern about growth. Like if this was a business, this is not a business. This is a community center, a place of worship, and they're trying to meet the current need of the community. If they outgrow this, they will think of other solution in the future, maybe other places. But for us to say that this is not going to meet the growth need as a reason for opposing it is not appropriate. And as if anyone can go find a property that meets their need at any time and size and finance. So.
Your time is up. Thank you for your comment. Muhel Paladia.
Hi, my name is Mehul Poladia. I am immediate neighbor to this project, and I cannot support this project in its current form. My primary concerns are rezoning from R15 to PQP. PQP enables the project to increase in size once the rezoning has happened. There is currently a big housing crisis in California as well as San Jose. It would have been preferable that this property or this plot would have remained an R15 when even R18 rezoning or restructuring it as R18 was cancelled a couple of years back. Approving this rezoning will essentially set a precedent in the city of San Jose for other developers to go and rezone properties in residential neighborhoods. The second comment is this is not conforming to the 2040 general plan of the city of San Jose. The structure at its highest point is close to 65 feet high, almost 4 feet. The size and scope of this is very high. It can accommodate over 2,000 people, though the presentation says just 300, but there are facilities such. Parking is going and traffic is going to be a very big mess. There have been a lot of documented accidents which have happened. There are 5 schools within 1 mile, and students will face difficulties during the construction zone. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that anti-Asian hate is a real concern, and it will be very unjust to call this opposition by the neighbors as anti-Asian. This inaccurate characterization divides the community. We too want such a temple and a meditation center, and we want it to prosper as well. But the current location is inadequate. Please plan for your future and acquire a larger parcel. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Gabler, please unmute yourself.
Hi there. My name is Michael Gabler. I'm the president of the Norwood Neighborhood Association. The Norwood Neighborhood Association is in the area adjacent to the proposed project. I support the idea of a temple. Unfortunately, I can't support the idea of a temple in the location that is proposed. I just want to state that this is not an issue of Asian hate for the folks that are talking about this. This is not an issue of religious freedom. It's an issue of the project just not being in the right place. I don't support the rezoning. It leaves the options too open for making this project bigger. When we talk about the project not being compatible, I kind of point to the images that were shown earlier in the presentation, where they showed the height of the temple compared to the height of homes farther up the hill. I just look at that as entirely deceptive presentation when I look at that, because when you look, if you were to take a closer look at the home that's inside this property, you'll see that there's a huge disparity there, and that's why this is out of character with the area. It was also stated that they would limit the attendance to 300 folks, but there's as much as we all want to honor and think people will honor their word, later on reality changes. And I kind of point to the project at the Mercedes dealership that was built at the corner of Tully and Capitol Expressway. And I'm not trying to relate this as a religious thing versus a commercial thing, but in that project, they were required to build a restaurant. After the project was done, they were asked, when are they going to build a project? They laughed and said, ha ha, make us do it. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Swart, please unmute yourself.
My name is Barbara Schwartz. I live several houses away from this proposed project. My husband and I bought our home. We knew the parcel on the corner would eventually be developed. We checked the zoning to see what would be built on the land and were satisfied that any additional development would be comparable to our home. Most of the homes in the area are owner occupied. The residents have worked hard to purchase these homes, maintain them, and have made improvements over the years to get to their current quality of life. The neighborhood has experience with the private gathering facilities. The problems that are created. We have seen that with the mosque at the corner of Tully and Ruby, the Buddhist temple on White near Stevens Lane, and the Sikh temple at Quimby and Murillo. In each case, parking spills into the neighborhoods and traffic control is required. Clearly an inconvenience for the neighbors. In fact, several years ago, the previous property owner has tried to build more than 6 homes, and the planning board denied this request. Nothing has changed since that time in terms of the number of people would be allowed, and more people allowed, or more cars in this parcel, creating more traffic and parking problems. The city has actually made changes to Ruby Avenue to mitigate some of the traffic problems we currently have. Allowing a facility that increases traffic doesn't make sense. The owner of the property has asked the residents for tolerance of the permanent intrusions that this project will impose on the quality of life for the residents. I asked the owner to respect our quality of life and find a different, more suitable location for the property. I oppose the rezoning request and oppose the permit of the gathering facility at this location. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I am going to try one more time. Norwood traffic, please unmute yourself. Norwood traffic, please unmute yourself. All right. All right, I have, with the phone number ending in 775, please unmute yourself. The phone number ending in 775, please unmute yourself. Michelle, what's the code to unmute yourself on the phone? Do you recall?
*9.
I think that's to raise your hand, right? But not to unmute yourself, is it?
Yeah.
John, it's *6 to unmute.
Yeah. So you press *6, the number that ends with 775. Please unmute yourself. There you go.
Now?
Yeah, there you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good evening. My name is Renee Lay, and I was born and raised in Cambodia. I am very well aware of the Khmer Krom culture, and I do love and respect them. I've lived in this evergreen community for 28 years. However, I do not support the project being built at this location. I embrace cultural diversity. I embrace peace, meditation, religious practices, and all of that stuff. But this location is just the wrong site for this project. There are many wonderful locations up on the hills away from the neighborhood, residential neighborhood, that should be and could be very suitable for this kind of a project. Even though the plan says 300 people, we all know that in reality, that number is not going to stay at 300. This project, tonight's meeting and this project is not about, being anti-API at all. It's actually about the project being not compatible to this neighborhood. It's about the congestion that this project is going to bring to this neighborhood. It's about safety issues for children walking to school. It's about pedestrians walking their dog. It's about traffic congestion that is going to be brought to this very peaceful, harmonious neighborhood that we have been enjoying for the last many, many years. And because of that, I do not support this project being built at this site. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Lay, please unmute yourself. Kathy, you can speak.
So good evening. My name is Kathy Lee. I'm a student at San Francisco State University, and I'm a member of the Khmer Kapachikram Temple. I support the project for me, my family, and our community to practice our religion. The temple we currently practice is not a proper temple. It's a small single-family home. Since we are a small, tight-knit community, it has been okay for us, but we are hoping to have a proper temple to worship and practice our faith. I heard a lot of people speaking about a large number of families that will be part of the temple once it's built. These are not accurate numbers. Our services are in Cambodian, and that are limit how many people want to attend. We have a small elderly population, and we are simply hoping to have a place to preserve our culture and protect our community in a place of worship. My family and I have been to temple for 24 years. It has been a meaningful spiritual resource for us. I also want to note that the Khmer Krom community is a displaced community. We were forced to leave our homeland for a chance to a better life. Our community is a shrinking community. We are not a temple that be seeking to grow membership. We are seeking a place to preserve our culture. We welcome the opportunity to show the community that we are committed to being good neighbors. We would love to share our faith, which is rooted in peace and harmony, and want to learn more about you and your family as well. We look forward to the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine, please unmute yourself. Catherine, please unmute yourself. Catherine, please unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi. So I support all religions, all nationalities. This isn't an issue at all about this. It's about that this is not the right location for any type of building. This is a residential community. All the synods, the churches, the mosques, they're all on the outskirts. There is one that's kind of like right in the middle, right there by Tully and Ruby, but they're even offset and they have a lot of traffic issues, but everybody tries to work with it. It's just amazing how it was zoned for the houses. I believe it was 6 houses that were supposed to be built on that lot. For many years it sat, and I know from personal experience that to get permits, to get approval, to get anything that you need to do to your own home is a nightmare. Unless you have deep pockets, it just a lot of times just doesn't happen. And you know, I support this organization, this church. I'm sorry, I don't have the right terminology. I believe that they should have their heritage, but at the same time, this isn't the right location for them. You know, the wine gal said that they're in a home right now and they're projecting to have 300 people. And just like the pastor previously said, he wished he had been at a different location. I feel that that's what they need to do, is look at a better location for their community as well as the community that they're going to impact. It's just really frustrating that this is even on the table. It should be the homes, not any type of building structure. Thank you for your time, and I wish all the luck.
Can I have Manjul Qatar?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Manjul Katare. I live very close by to this proposed temple location. I do propose this temple if this is built in the size of, like 6 homes, that's what it is originally meant for. Now, if I heard from John Goldstein, he actually brought up a very valid point that, is this the temple scalable? I'm pretty sure the visitors are gonna grow up, and this number, the 300, they're saying probably it's 3,000, and I could see in future it's gonna go way more than this. So this is a big concern. It's going to bring a lot of traffic and whatnot. We already have so many problems, people making donut on the street. I could hear that pretty much every other day. And I see it very concerning. There shouldn't even be a thought, I guess, of, changing the zone and all, because this is originally meant for 6 houses. I propose this temple only if this is like, if you're expecting a visitor, maybe around 50 to 70. But this is way more. So I request the temple organization to kind of think one more time what they're building. Is this going to really bring good stuff in the society? That's pretty much I wanted to say. I'm a Buddha believer. I do meditation. I do invite friends, and we do it in a small places. And that is, in fact, more effective. So if we plan to build something like this, I really welcome, and I myself would like to go there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Cherry Cat, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I guess you can hear me?
Yep, I can hear.
Great. While I find the Buddhist religion to be both passive and peaceful and a welcome part of our community, I'm opposed to the temple with the proposed location based upon the property location, size, intersecting streets and impact on traffic, and only for those reasons. We have 2 other temples or mosques in the area, yet they differ by size and location of the properties where they are located. These do integrate well into our neighborhood, but I'm afraid I can't say the same thing for the proposed temple. I am impressed by the work that was done to remove the parking garage and downsize, and I think it's a step in the right direction. And I would welcome the temple in the area, but I do think there are more appropriate locations further east up on Norwood that would integrate better into the Evergreen neighborhood, interfere less with traffic, and not present the parking and growth restrictions of the current site. So I'm also a bit disturbed about some of the cries of racism, as I've lived in Evergreen since 1975, 1979, and find it an extremely diverse and inclusive community and neighborhood. And I don't know if anybody makes those claims are really part of our community, because I have not lived my life in a more diverse and inclusive neighborhood. As a former member of my high school's debate club many years ago, the first rule we learned in debate was to attack the opposing ideas and never the opponents. So again, I welcome the community and the temple into the neighborhood. I do hope at least an effort would be made for a more appropriate site, which presents growth opportunities and better integration into the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Vicky J, please unmute yourself.
Well, my name is Jerry Jessica. I have a lot of friends who are Vietnamese Buddhists, some Catholic, some Buddhist. Okay, I resent the insinuations and the actual accusations that people are opposing this temple on racial grounds. This neighborhood is very eclectic already, religiously and ethnically. What has irritated me is that this congregation, the leaders would choose to thrust their building into our neighborhood. The audacity has amazed me for a religious group to do that. And that garage would have been 2-3 years of construction. They are not considering, or did not consider, or did not care what they were doing to the people already living here. I would suggest that, so the institution is great, but I would suggest the location be moved to perhaps the ex-golf course down at the White and between White and Capitol and Tully. That's an excellent location. There's already foliage there that they could use. It's an excellent place to move it to. But in our neighborhood, that parcel is too small. That intersection is too busy. There's so many accidents there. I was out handing out flowers that morning on Sunday morning. I counted 10 cars just come zooming through the intersection. 5 bicycles, did not pay any attention to the stop signs at all. That's a bad intersection. It's not compatible. The building will not be compatible with that intersection, nor with the neighborhood, because it's going to disrupt the lives of people as it is being built, and then during the operations.
Thank you. One second. Grace, please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Grace Soto, and I want to say that this has never been about race or religion, and I too am offended to hear that it's become that. I embrace all people of all religions, of all cultures. I've lived in Evergreen for over 50 years and currently live 1 block away from the proposed temple. The issue is the size of the project. The project is way big for the area, and it will create traffic conditions that are already bad as it is. When I go for a walk trying to cross Norwood and Ruby is a challenge, because there's the people do not respect stop signs. There's a lot of traffic. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when Evergreen High School is getting released, there's so much traffic going on in the local schools, the parents that are picking up. And the parking lot is clearly too small. With 56 parking spots for over 300 participants, where's the overflow parking people? Where are the cars going to go? They're going to go into the neighborhoods and increase traffic within the neighborhoods. So it's all about safety. It's all about the right size, and safety and should be the foremost and most important aspect of this project.
Thank you. So it's around 7:30. I know there are several more hands that want to speak. So I'm going to try to let the next couple of speakers speak until 2 minutes, but once we hit 8 o'clock, I'm going to reduce it down to 1 minute. Just be aware, like as Michelle previously stated, that this is not the only opportunity to provide your comments. You can email Michelle, you have additional comments. There'll be other opportunities as well as the EIR to provide additional comments. But I just want to give forewarn people that, you know, by the time we hit 8 o'clock, I may reduce the speaking time to about 1 minute. But we're going to go through the next couple of speakers who've already raised their hand. It's queued up based on when they raised their hand to speak, just to let you guys know I'm not arbitrarily choosing who's speaking. It's based on who's raised their hand and their time. So can I have the phone number ending in 306? Please unmute yourself. You can press *6 to unmute yourself. The phone number ending in 306, please press *6 to unmute yourself. There you go. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, quick question. My name is Vera, and I live in the neighborhood also. The question that I have for you is the parking lot going to be hidden from the streets where it's not visible, or is it going to be outside of the building?
I'll leave that to Michelle. My understanding is that it's at the rear of the lot, so they'd be limiting the visibility.
It's not visible from the street?
I don't think it's going to be fully shielded, but it'd be more hidden in the back.
In the back. And also, how many spots did you say? I heard the previous person say it was 56.
It is 71.
Okay, 71 parking spots. So that if it accommodates 300 people, I believe. How is the outside, the perimeter of the parking going to be handled? Is the city going to paint red curbs where people can't park in the neighborhood? Are they going to give permits to people who live in the neighborhood so that you can detect if the person doesn't live it? Are they going to give people who live around the area permits so they can hang on their car so that they can only park in the neighborhood and not nobody else? How is that going to be handled to prevent people from parking all over? 300 people is a lot of people if they don't take a bus to get there or choose not to, so that it doesn't impact the neighbors.
So a couple of different things. The city is very limited in the number of parking permit districts that it can provide. In terms of doing that, generally it has to be next to major institutions such as the SAP Center or university, as they don't implement those. Secondly, any public street, technically anybody has the right to park in it. So it would be unlikely for the city to go in there and make the public street parking spaces and privatize it for only a specific area.
Okay, so that leaves the question that people can park. If you have 300 people, it would be considerably impacting the neighborhood.
Well, once again, I would let the traffic analysis conduct that analysis as in terms, and those analysis has not been completed yet.
Has preliminary been done regarding that matter in terms of how it's going to impact or the impact that it will have on everybody?
I'll let Ty speak on it. Today is a scoping meeting, which is why we're getting your input today, is what can get analyzed as part of the environmental impact report. So these kind of comments help support the analysis and the standards of what would typically be an impact or not.
Do you want me to speak on it alone now or wait till more comments?
I think just so we can get everybody's comments, Ty, we'll wait till the end. I think that's your time. We're going to move on to the next speaker, but thank you for your comments.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. Philip Nguyen, please unmute yourself. Philip Nguyen, please unmute yourself. There you go.
Hello, this is Philip. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, thank you for picking me. Yeah, so I live 2 houses away from the proposed project, the temple. Yeah, so I'm also Vietnamese, I'm Asian, I used to be a boat people, a refugee, and basically I live in San Jose all my life. So again, this issue is not about Asian hate or anything like that, right? I am also a religiously Buddhism, which is my religion. I used to go to many of the pre-approved temple around here in San Jose. Recently, as you can see, it's been chaotic. Okay, if you go out there, do some research around any special holiday, you can see a lot of issue in terms of traffic congestion, people disobeying traffic and parking, and create all kind of nightmare for the surrounding neighborhoods, right? So I chose not to go to any temple around here. I mean, I would love to go to your temple because I know the core of Buddhism is about the same, right? We are about harmony, respect, and bringing, peace and harmony to everyone. So of course, we welcoming everyone to come in and visit us, right? But in reality, this is about coexisting with other people, right? How we interrupting other people where they would call home, right? So I no longer go to any temple around here because of those issues and nightmare that we would create to the surrounding neighborhood. My temple is about 30 miles from here in Salinas out there. So please have like serious consideration, the city, please, when you want to study about the environmental impact, please send people out to witness or doing your research in terms of how Buddhism is worshipped, with from various ethnic. So with that, I yield back my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Agnes, please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I am Asian as well, and I live in the area of Neighborhood Avenue. I have little children, and I am very concerned as well as the impact of this traffic and congestion in our neighborhood. Thank you to Mr. Krishnan as well. I truly support him, and please do consider redeveloping this temple somewhere else. And I do support the Cambodian community as well, but please consider about the residential area as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Reese, please unmute yourself. Hi, Robert.
Thank you, John. It's important to remember that we're in the middle of an active community design collaboration, which is gathering ideas and gaining understanding from all communities. I'd like to thank the Khmer Krom members, Leslie Gardino, Jennifer Johnson, and Ruby Norwood neighbors for actively engaging for over 2 years in pursuit of a good neighbor consensus on the size of the proposed temple. A thank you is well deserved for Councilmember Arenas for her strong and engaged leadership in helping the Khmer Krom and neighbors begin to take the steps necessary to achieve a community consensus on the right size of the temple. City rules tell us private gathering uses and their buildings are not by right. They're not principal uses in the residential neighborhood designation of the San Jose General Plan. Rather, they are discretionary uses, and buildings are required to closely conform to the prevailing neighborhood character as defined by density, massing, neighborhood form, and pattern before they can be conditionally permitted. It is not a situation where anything goes. Rather, the applicant is required by the city to show how the plan is consistent with land use policies. I've spoken previously about the prior planning report on a preliminary basis, which indicated that no more than 6 units were allowed on the property. I believe that the prior property owner wanted to have an additional 3. Planning at that time did not think that was consistent with the planning policies, nor did planning think that more intense zoning was applicable. I'd like to suggest that the EIR be scoped in these ways: do a run at the R15 with 6 units, the R18 with 3 units, do the neighbors proposed compromise, and then, of course, the temple plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, for your comments. Fam, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fook, and I live in San Jose. I'm a student at San Jose State University, and I'm a proud member of the Khmer Chia Krom Temple. I fully support the project, and while I'm Vietnamese, this temple has welcomed me with open arms. I believe this temple is an amazing resource to increase the diversity in our neighborhood. I have and would guess that many of you have been interested in the teachings of Buddhists and how they pertain in the world today. Buddhism's focus on virtues and like wisdom, kindness, patience, generosity, and compassions, which I think we all would agree are important today more than ever. I would welcome the temple and hope others would view it through the lens of the inclusion as I am. Lastly, I'd like to mention that the Khmer American community is already small, let alone the Khmer Krom community. Thank you.
Thank you. I have call-in user number 2. Please unmute yourself. I think you're unmuted. Please speak.
Hi, good evening. My name is Diana Castillo. My family lives at 10 Oak Court. We've been here for decades. We're right next door to the site. And we will be substantially impacted by the developer's proposal. It's not that we're against the temple. Please understand. It's that it needs to meet objective standards, and it's not. So we're opposed to the PQP. I have limited time, so I want to share some of the concerns. Under the zoning code, the off-street parking plan has to be adequate. It's not. It's only proposing 56 parking stalls for nearly 15,000 square feet of building. They're also proposing to allow 15 vehicles or 60% of the on-site vehicles to double park. No permanent parking lot attendant is suggested. Visitors could easily double park in areas where they should not. This will block police and fire responders' access in emergencies. So I'm concerned about the health and safety of my neighbors and the visitors to the temple. The developer's plan is going to increase street congestion. They're proposing to reduce the site to one point of entry. There's several to the site. We've made this point many times over the years. It shouldn't be such a burden on, especially the trans families that the project surrounds, and a lot of congestion on the street. So I'm hoping staff will recommend to the applicant to reduce the square footage of buildings so that the developer can meet their parking requirements through on-site stalls. Incorporate at least 2 points of access for vehicles. Increase the setbacks. Staff recommended that when this project was considered under R1 or R5. And, you know, I think it's a little unfair to characterize this as a second community meeting. The first community meeting, there was no plan proposed, and residents have been asking for reports ahead of any meeting. So I appreciate staff's consideration of another community meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Kay Liao, please unmute yourself. Kay Liao, please unmute yourself.
Hi, did you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I'm a resident of this area, Evergreen, for almost 20 years. So I know how this area changed. So as it is, as proposed, I oppose this project. There are many problems, as the people mentioned previously, but in my comment, I will focus on the most important is the parking, right? So, temple can only provide 71 spaces. And that one is based on the temple capacity only. Based on what the architect said in last community meeting, that gathering hall is also used simultaneously with the temple, because it's customary that attendee pray and continue on having meal in the gathering hall. So in this case, logically, gathering hall capacity is approximately 791 people has to be counted or added when determining parking requirement. So the parking requirement based on these two buildings, temple and gathering hall, should be 296 cars. Temple asks for 76% reduction, not 27% as stated in the application. Asking for 76% reduction is just that, doesn't make sense. So I want to say something about this, the word character that pays so many people, but then I don't have time. Maybe next time.
Thank you. Can I have Linda Ludwig, please unmute yourself?
Hi, my name's Linda Ladwig. I've been a resident of the Evergreen area since I've come to California, and that's over 30, 40 years ago. So I'm a retired person, and we enjoy this area because of its diversity. I'm sad to hear that people think that we are trying to hold back the temple because of its religious beliefs. And that's not very fair to the community here, because we are such a diverse neighborhood, and we always welcome all the growth that has come here, religious and residential. I personally would love to see a community happen here, you know, where I can go to a restaurant and sit down and talk with my neighbors, but so far the planning department hasn't been able to do that for us. That particular spot, I live about 2 blocks away. I walk past that area every day. Norwood is, San Jose has mapped the streets around here to help with the traffic, and it's a lane on each way on Norwood. It is shared with bicycles and whatever else. I've seen wheelchairs go down Norwood. I've seen people die, children die of car accidents on Ruby Avenue. So I don't think that this is the right location for another temple. I think there's a lot of other spaces in San Jose that would accommodate the traffic and the flow and help with the neighborhood here. I think you know, I think they need to look at a different location. There are a lot of empty spaces. Michael's left, and there's some empty spaces, commercial spaces all around here because we can't get anybody to come for the commercials. Thank you.
Thank you. So just so that we want to give ourselves enough time for everybody to also provide comments at the very end. There are currently 13 speakers. I'm just going to try to power through and give you guys each your 2 minutes, but I'm not going to be taking any speakers after that. So if you haven't raised your hand prior to this, unfortunately, I will not be able to take you. But once again, there are other opportunities to speak, not just at the community meeting. So I am going to call on Patricia Mendoza. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Patricia and I live in the neighborhood. Buenas noches a todos. I hope this temple can come to our neighborhood. We welcome you. We're a diverse neighborhood full of different religions, cultures, races, ethnicities. But bottom line, the structure is too big as proposed. And it's not realistic for the size of the land. This is a residential area after all. That said, I would like to thank Councilmember Arenas for listening to the concerns brought up previously, and we appreciate the elimination of the underground parking. I hope an agreement is reached between neighbors and the applicant. I really do, since I believe that the structure is beautiful and it would add value to our neighborhood and add more culturally diverse places. But I hope that you're able to listen to the concerns brought up today. And I do respectfully invite all the San Francisco callers earlier today that mentioned that anybody opposed was a racist or anti-Asian to please get to know our neighborhood, get to know our community that you want to be a part of before being disrespectful, because that's really what it was. There is no place for that in our neighborhood or in this meeting. And I do hope that agreements could be reached and the temple can find a suitable location here in our neighborhood. Thank you so much.
Thank you. NP, please unmute yourself.
Hey, John. This is actually Nick Pham. I'm not sure how my name got changed to ANP, but
hello, Nick.
Hi, John. Hi, Michelle, Ty, and council members. Arenas, if she's still online. I actually am a member of the neighborhood. I live about 1,200 feet away from the temple, so I was not included in the notification for the first meeting. But I believe I have sent Michelle a 12 pages letter pointing out the concerns. And that letter actually represents about 400 people that we have spoken to. There are about 30, 40 people that could not make it to this meeting. So I don't want to keep you guys until 10 p.m. either, but I'm speaking on behalf of another 40 people that could not make this meeting. I want to echo some of the neighbors' concern. I am Asian. My dad actually was born in Vientiane, so he's Laotian. So I've been around temple all my life. I appreciate all temples. I go to all the Vietnamese temple, the Thai temple. So I got offended when some of the neighbors said I chose Evergreen because of the diversity of the neighborhood. I've actually encouraged you to read my 10 pages or 12 pages of notes. But a couple of points that I want to share based on the comments made is that per the PQP, whatever we build needs to be compatible with the residential neighborhood look and feel. Per CEQA, aesthetically compatible is a key word that I believe was mentioned. And the neighbors have reviewed, I encourage them to review, and they agree that this is incompatible for the lot. So please read my comments.
Nick. Bruce Ban, please unmute yourself. Give me 1 second, Bruce. Bruce Ban, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. My name is Bruce Brand and I live in the proposed neighborhood. I do not support the construction of the temple project in the tiny location proposed. My question is, why are the proponents of the project trying to shoehorn this large project into this tiny residential site? With the vast money and support of the billionaire behind the temple project, why not look less than a mile away to the old golf course at White and Tully? The land's available is at least 100 times the size. Right now it's used just to feed some cows. A temple 5 times this site could be built, beautify the environment with a vast garden, and still feed the cows. The proposal that was reviewed made a statement of the maximum of 300 visitors. And how do they think they would only need 71 spaces, parking spaces? What's the guarantee that anyone visiting the temple would not use street parking? Lastly, I have an issue with the presentation of the proponents. The drawing of what it would look like from Ruby Avenue, looking east up the hill, gives the illusion that the temple's just as high as the surrounding houses. But the picture must be from at least 100 feet above the ground to give that kind of perspective. I would hope that they would give a true, actual perspective view and show that this project is really out of alignment with the rest of the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Parthan Prajnaden, please unmute yourself. I might be saying it wrong. It's Parsadan, Prasanth. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Did I pronounce your name wrong? I apologize if I did.
No problem at all. So my name is Prashant. My home is right across the street from the proposed temple site. I'm also Asian. Unfortunately, I cannot support this project as proposed because I do believe that the proposal is too big for a tiny site like this one. So I request either right scale the project or move it to a more appropriately sized site so that, everybody will benefit from this. And if we are going ahead with this, I would request the temple folks to reduce the number of people to less than 80 or 90 people. Thank you.
Thank you. Can the number that ends with 541 please unmute yourself? The number that ends in 541. Please press *6. There you go. You are unmuted. Phone number ending in 541. Do you wish to speak?
Hello.
Yeah, here you go.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please identify yourself and speak.
Okay. Hello. This is Peter. Lives behind location temple. Build temple is very good, very good. However, you must choose the right location. This is not the right location because less than 2 acres, how can you build a temple? And the traffic issue, you can check the record. How many accidents happened last year in intersection of the Norwood and Avenue and Ruby Avenue? Then you will have the answer. First is priority is safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Martini, please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Lewis. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, I'm on my wife's phone. I'm calling for Kathy and myself.
No problem.
We live in the area of Ruby and Norwood. My wife and I are not against the temple as a project if it fit into the neighborhood infrastructure. I personally feel that schools and places of worship add to the property value of the houses in the surrounding area if they're done correctly. But I have to say, for this project, with a congregation of 300 trying to shoehorn into 70 parking places with an overflow of 50 where we don't hit that 150, I think, cars that are going to access this place to transport 300 people is one aspect of the infrastructure which isn't supporting the placement of this temple at that location. Besides parking, no one's really addressed access up Norwood, which is a single lane road in each direction without sidewalks in many cases, a very narrow road, without a bicycle lane on either side, as opposed to the mosque that went on Ruby and Tully. The access road there, at points is 3 lane, at some points it's 3 lanes. It does go down to 2 lanes, but then it gives you 3 turn lanes at the top. So people can go straight, turn left, turn right. At Norwood, I believe, you have no recourse but to wait for the guy in front of you, whether he's turning right or left. And most of these cars will be turning left, as I guess, going into the parking lot. Some will be going straight up and trying to find parking, or they're going to go left and look for parking. And thirdly, the size of the building and the size of the congregation. We're talking.
Louis, if this could be your final point.
Yes, I don't see a timer running actually.
Oh, it ran already. I think
I'm sorry. Yeah. Size of the building and congregation should be, in my perspective, in a 4-acre lot minimum to provide the adequate parking and overflow for large events. And of course, this is just 2 acres. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it. It's okay.
Watching.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Can I have R. Castillo please unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Ruben Castillo. My family's lived at the
in Pinot Court for about 40 years. We're right next to the proposed site. San Jose's general plan tells us that single-family homes and the characteristics of the type of development is the plan for this area. The project is an infill project, is completely surrounded by single-family homes. Since the beginning, my family has asked the developer to develop in a way that is compatible with the neighborhood. After years, we're glad that they have eliminated the underground parking in their plans, but we cannot start from that unreasonable point and now think that their current proposal is compatible. It is not. We do not support the developer's application to rezone the site to P2P. They want to rezone to build a project that is incompatible with the neighborhood. The project is too big and will host too many people and activities for this residential neighborhood. This is less than a 2-acre site. It's obvious from their proposal and the 1,500 square feet buildings, the 3 courtyards, that the developer still intends to build for more capacity at a later time. The developer's plan to self-restrict use to the capacity of 300 people is unrealistic. The height of the building should not tower over homes in the neighborhood. Double parking is unsafe and it'll block emergency vehicles and the need for any such emergencies. The project must have at least 2 access points on Norwood and on Ruby. Cutting the access to one point means that we will be impacted by every trip, every car, every delivery that goes up and down will impact my family's life. The developer should develop a compatible project under R1 and an R5 zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Damian Maker, please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Go. All right. Hi, my name is Damien Maker. I live at the corner of Ruby and Norwood. I also do not support the rezoning request and do not agree that this is the right location for the proposed size of the temple. This particular intersection is already a heavy traffic area. I know this personally because I hear, see, and personally experience the amount of traffic that occurs every single day. Not to mention the accidents and near misses with pedestrians that we see on a constant basis. I don't need an environmental study to tell me the amount of traffic at this intersection will significantly increase, which will impact traffic, noise, pollution, etc. Not to mention the issue of parking. Being that I live right across the street, my street would be one of the prime locations where church members will pick to try and park, which means I will personally have to deal with any parking issues that affects access to in and out of my own personal home. And when this happens, what are my options? Bottom line is I object to the comment that I also want to know, I object to the comment that the neighborhood objection is fueled by Asian hate or objection to their religion. Being Korean myself, my wife is Vietnamese, and I gotta say, I think it's sad that we have to note this stuff. This is a very diverse neighborhood with various religious sites throughout the neighborhood. And as the rest of my fellow neighbors have noted, this is strictly based upon the desired size of the temple and the limitations of the size of the lot that they are trying to build this temple on. Thanks.
Thank you. So there are 2 more speakers that I'm going to call upon. Just be aware, I'm trying not to call anybody twice. And I think about 20 minutes ago, I limited to the speakers that already raised their hand. So the 2 speakers are going to be Peter Hong and Falk Dash. Those are the 2 that raised their hand at that point. And then we're going to allow staff and the applicant the ability to provide some responses. But once again, this is not the only opportunity to provide your comments or questions. So Peter Hong, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Peter. I go to San Jose State University, and I am a member of the Khmer Kampuchea Grown Temple. I wish to share my support for the project. As a proud member of the Khmer Grown community, one of my goals is to pass along our way of life and rich traditions to my family so they can live on. Despite the fact that we are small in number, it will be a blessing to have this temple built to preserve our history and culture for the next generation. I would like to respond to some of the people who have spoken tonight. You called our project a church because you didn't know the right word. Yet we have been referring to the project as our temple the entire meeting. So I believe this reflects the lack of attention paid to our people and our project. It was said that 3,000 people was too many for the area. I would like to correct that. We said there would be more than 300 people at our temple at any given time. And this will only be during our major holiday, New Year's, which is only once a year. Regularly, we only have very, very small gatherings for prayers on the weekends. Thank you.
Thank you. Fong Thatch, please unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to support our meeting here and about our temple. I'm a member of the temple, and I just want to remind everyone that I've been to every meeting and everyone's been saying exactly the same thing about parking lot and about traffic. And you make it sound like we're gonna come and terrorizing the neighborhood. It's not, that's not it. Just to remind you that Peter just said it, that we only celebrate once or twice a year. And that's not even 300 people. 300 people is already big. Our community is really, really, really small, and we don't celebrate daily. You make it sound like we celebrate this daily. We don't celebrate daily. We only come in the morning and feed the monk. The monk only eat once a day, which is before noon. So I just want to remind everyone that you make it sound like we here come to trying to mess up your neighborhood or anything like that. That is not it. Once the temple is built, you're gonna appreciate how we are as the community and how the temple will make the neighborhood look really nice. So I want to thank you, and everyone knows that this is a peaceful place, not a party place. Thank you.
Thank you. So this concludes the public comment. I will respond to one comment that I heard because it was in regards to planning staff in the past not allowing additional density. So that preliminary proposal was specifically a residential project. So in the context of planning staff comment about allowing the rezoning to increase density, that is really talking about dwelling units per acre. So in that sense, this project is not a dwelling unit per acre. It goes by an FAR. So therefore, there's a different criteria for that. It goes by square footage of the building, not by the dwelling units. So I just wanted to clarify there is a difference in one intensity versus another. And we're analyzing this project as a non-residential use. Is there anything else staff or the applicant would like to respond to?
Hi, this is Ty. I will respond to two comments I heard, particularly specifically on the CEQA component, to look at the scale of the project from the ground and on all frontages to make sure that's compatible in height. And also for aesthetic, someone brought up that aesthetic, we look at aesthetically compatible. However, just to know that based on the CEQA threshold, we look at if the project would impact anything directly, meaning like taking away a scenic highway or blocking a designated scenic area from public views. So just want to note that there. And I also want to bring up that a lot of people brought up the transportation analysis. I want to give you all some context that for the purpose of CEQA, we do look at what we call vehicle mile traveled. That's a state requirement. We moved away from what is considered CEQA, meaning how long you wait at an intersection, to how far you travel to an amenities or to your residential home. And with that, as part of that, we do look at what we call local transportation analysis, which do look at number of trips and again, operation and circulation of the site and the surrounding. And that will be part of the disclosure, even if it's not technically CEQA itself, but it will be there to make sure that there is, it's compatible and sorry, not compatible is not the right word, but it's consistent with our municipal code standards. With that, I'm not sure if Public Works have anything else to add for the transportation section. I've heard someone also mention that you don't need a traffic analysis to tell you that this will increase trips. We're not saying that it won't. We're gonna, for the purposes of my studies, it's gonna say by how much and if it's gonna be to a level of what we call significant unavoidable, right? And with that, the report will still be there, and I highly encourage everybody, if you're interested, please contact me so I can put you on the list so you will be the first to get it when it's on the website, when it's available for your review. And if you have any questions about the methodology of any of these reports, traffic, noise, aesthetic, and stuff like that, feel free to reach out and I can definitely have a one-on-one with you as well.
Thanks, Ty. And just to tag along to what Ty said, the project is going to be required to provide a transportation demand management program, a pretty robust plan to help assist with special events that are only happening not even weekly, but that is going to be a part of the project conditions to help assist with some of the parking comments that we received.
And this is Jennifer Johnson. If I could just say a few very quick points, certainly supporting the comments at the end here related to the traffic study. We are absolutely waiting for the traffic study as well. But we do note that most of our activity is off peak. And I think that will probably not contribute to the worst of the rush hour traffic in the neighborhood. We just like to say, you know, churches belong in neighborhoods, mosques and temples belong in neighborhoods. And so we're confident that we are of the neighborhood and will be compatible with the neighborhood. I would encourage the neighbors to look closely at our activities description and our operations plan to see how indeed our activities are fairly limited and very rarely do we have larger events. And with respect to size, we've talked a lot about and heard a lot about residential houses, and I know that FAR and dwelling units are two different ways of looking at it. But when we look at the 6 houses that were approved for construction, which were never constructed, total square footage of those homes was over 25,000 square feet. And as you know, ours is much less than that. So it arranged differently, yes, but certainly within the scale of 6 homes. Thank you.
Thank you. I am going to pass it over to Michelle for her final words or any additional information.
Thank you all. One more comment that I wanted to speak on was parking. So I know there were a couple of mentions about capacity. So the zoning code provides parking ratios for assembly uses, and that parking is calculated either using fixed seats, linear seats, or area of assembly. So this project, since it doesn't have fixed seating, parking is being calculated using the area designed for assembly. And if no one else has anything to say, can go ahead and conclude with this meeting. I just wanted to remind everyone that this is not your last opportunity to provide comments. If you were unable to provide some comments tonight or have any additional comments, please feel free to email me. Even if you provided those comments during this meeting, we did take notes of all your comments during this meeting, but if you wanted to provide those in writing so that they can be provided to the planning commissioners and city council once the project review is complete, please feel free to email me those as well. And with that, we will go ahead and conclude this meeting. Please note, once you exit this meeting, there is going to be a survey to fill out about the Zoom meeting. So if you have any comments about the Zoom meeting method and format, please feel free to include those there. And then please feel free to keep checking the planning project's website. So when there is a new resubmittal, it will be posted on that webpage. So I appreciate all of your time. Thank you all and have a great night.